Hello there, Blindy Sama here, and this is episode 3 of Blindy Builds. Today we're looking at some studded and spiked clubs that I have made. For legal reasons, they're all considered decorative. So here's the first one that I've made, and it kind of reminds me of like a bent baseball bat. And this is one of the first attempts at making a studded or spiked club. And I believe this was before I made a template. And of course it's painted brown, and the studs are some upholstery tacks that are brass colored. This was also my first time trying to do a leather grip that wasn't like a leather cord. And I had some advice by a guy on one of the sword Facebook groups who does leatherworking, and he gave me great advice. So thank you. You know who you are. And I love this color and contrast with the brown that I painted it. It looks really nice. And for my first time doing it, although I'm going to tell you right now, epic foreshadowing, I do not like using this type of faux leather for grips. It is a pain in the butt. But it turned out really nice, although not perfect. And it was glued and tacked in place. See, there's a tack there and another tack somewhere. But it's very baseball bat-like. And this one could be definitely a functional piece for sure, but it is very lightweight. It is not oak. This is what is called Chinaberry. And there's a story behind this wood, and I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version, and that is the house I grew up at had a big Chinaberry tree that I made a bajillion like fighting sticks and wooden swords out of when I was a kid and a young teenager. And at one point, the tree fell over and crushed the fence, and we had to cut up most of the tree, and it was gone, but then the tree tried to regrow, and I was still able to make stuff. So this is one of the few surviving pieces of Chinaberry that I have from the house that I grew up in. So, very sentimental piece to me. Not my best work, but just sentimental. And I did overcoat it with too much polyacrylic, so from a distance, if you walk in and you saw this sitting on my dresser or wherever I had it displayed, it would look like a kid's play toy, like a plastic toy, until you pick it up and you're like, oh, wait, that's wood. But yeah, for my first go at making like something that was more or less a kanabo, which is a Japanese great club, for those who do not know, I am very happy with how it turned out. On to the next. The next one, and this is a more recent piece. Not my most recent, but a more recent piece. And it's made out of oak. And the grip isn't that tight on it. The wood has shrank a little bit, but thankfully the wood did not crack. But the wood has some really cool characteristics. Like has a nice knot there. And then the front of the club is kind of like a flat-faced area. Notice you can apply it directly to someone's forehead. I mean, don't do that. And the spikes are iron hobnails, which are these little conical-shaped metal spikes that were commonly used to put in the bottom of like sandals and boots and whatnot for traction. These ones are iron. And they're really neat. And I like this club. It is not my favorite one, but it is cool. And it's a nice hefty little spike club. Get used to spike clubs. This whole video is about them, folks. The next one I'm going to show you is similar, but obviously very different in its own ways. And this one is also made out of oak and is much more skinny and narrow. And it is painted a color called Velvet Beret that I'm very fond of. And it also features iron hobnails. But if you look at the tip of the club and the quote-unquote pommel of the club, I shaped them so that the whole piece was kind of almost like crystal-shaped. Or polyhedral-shaped. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It turned out actually really neat, and it's a good little lightweight club or fighting stick. And, of course, just as a simple leather, wrapped grip, nothing fancy. This style grip, I don't usually glue in place. I just tie it in place in case I were to give it to someone and it broke or they wanted to replace it with their own wrapping, they can. But yeah, this one, this little purple guy here, turned out pretty good. I like it. Still not my favorite, but I like it. On to the next. Otherwise, I'll sit here and talk for 20 hours. Because I'm good at that. This one is functional, but I would label it, obviously I label all mine as decorative, but this one looks a lot more decorative. Da-da, 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 da-da. And the reason being, maybe you can't tell from this angle. There we go. Give you 3 guesses what it looks like. A shark or a fishy, that's right. This is the Angry Fish Stick. And it didn't come out perfect. But I did this one. It was a fun piece of wood that I found in my supply pile, let's call it. And I was like, you're kind of shaped like a fish. I want to make a fighting stick out of you. And so I did so. It is painted tidal teal. And the tips of the quote-unquote fin... Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. That's backwards. It's painted Mediterranean blue, and the tips of the so-called fins are painted tidal teal. Now you can tell it's very fishy shaped. And the spikes are iron hobnails. And this one can be held with a lot of different grips. And I played with it just for kicks and giggles to be like, well, would this really be functional because it's really funny shaped? And you know, surprisingly, it could be a halfway efficient weapon. But it's fun. It's a fun club. You know, I just... I never thought I'd make one shaped like a fish. So, yeah, Angry Fish Stick. On to the next. We have, I believe, 3 left. 3 left that I want to show here. And this one is very recent. I made it around the same time as the Angry Fish Stick. And this one, cough rate. This one is quite bent, as you can tell. So it, in my opinion, if it were used in ye old combat, would be best suited from a mounted position. It is also solid oak. And I actually had some oopsies when I was making it, and I accidentally put the spikes and studs on the wrong end. But it worked out, because the ends weren't too drastically different in size, so I was able to make this work. And it's painted cherry. And if you look at the handle, I carved a very simple spiral in it for aesthetics, and it does, believe it or not, that one little simple groove there actually surprisingly helps the grip quite a bit. Now, here's the cool thing about this one. If you look closely, well, studying this this wonderful masterpiece. Okay, it's not a masterpiece, but still. This one's really neat because if you look, there's a pattern with the spikes. They are not all hobnails, nor are they all square iron nails. There's a pattern of both. If you look, not only does it look ferocious, it is aesthetically pleasing. So if you are riding on, you know, the back of a giant chicken, or a short horsey, or wherever the heck you ride, you know, this would be a very good mounted war club because of the shape. And it's quite sturdy, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I thought when I first made the mistakes on it, I was like, oh crap, I ruined the project. But you know what? I was able to take some mistakes and turn them into a win. And you know what? I feel like that is the essence of crafting, in my opinion. I'm going to screw up. How do I make it awesome? So that one's really cool. Now we have one of my early pieces, but it did turn out really good. And I consider it my personal club. My personal spike club. And it's interesting because the handle is very, very canted off to one side. But if you were to use this mounted, or if you held it a certain way, it actually gives you a pretty good angle to attack with, if you were to use it, hypothetically. And this one is also stained royal garnet. As you can tell, there's a theme here. I really like royal garnet. It's not my favorite color, but it works well for what I do. And, of course, has a simple, leather cord grip wrap. And right here, this little knot right here is great because it creates a natural hand stop, so your hand doesn't slide up too far. And then here at the bottom, there's this little swell that helps keep your hand from sliding off the bottom of the club. So the handle was more or less naturally super ergonomic to begin with. So, and I love it when nature does that for me and makes my job way easier. And this one also features iron hobnails. I believe this is one of the first pieces where I tried to use a template that I made. And so I used some stirring sticks and made my little templates. And the way I drill my holes normally is I use a screwdriver and a screw. That way I have more control on how much depth I have. That way it doesn't make the pilot holes too deep or too wide. That, and I just prefer to use muscle-powered tools in general, mostly because of my vision. But it turned out really good. And I sent the sister club to this one. I recently gave it to a good friend of mine, and I kind of wish I would have kept it for this video, but that's okay. It was a lot like this one, but the handle was thicker. But it was very, very close, aesthetically speaking, to this one. And I love how it turned out. It's very pretty. It's a nasty little thumper. Give you another good look at it. And now we have the last piece, and this one I also finished recently. This one might be hard to get in the camera. So this big honking purple monstrosity is Purple Pain. And it's also inspired by the Japanese kanabo. And the bright light shining on it makes it look a lot lighter purple than it is actually a darker purple. It's the same velvet beret as the other spike club I showed you earlier. And this thing is bigger than a baseball bat and is definitely a heavy two-handed weapon. It is solid oak, and Mother Nature provided a really cool knuckle guard. And, of course, the grip is just some simple leather cord. This one I'm actually really proud of, not only because of how it came out aesthetically, but because of how much work I put into it. There are 40 square iron nails as the spikes for this thing, and they are deeply set in. So this is meant to be a functional piece. Now, I know that traditionally a kanabo is an anti-armor weapon. This, the Purple Pain, this is a two-handed branch of woe. This is a flesh-rending device in a hypothetical battlefield situation. Don't hurt other people. So, I'm really, really proud of Purple Pain. Yeah, it's a big honking piece of oak, and it is quite heavy, but it's supposed to be. But it turned out super good. I don't know, I counted at one point, but it was like some absurd amount of turns of the screwdriver to drill the pilot holes for this piece. And it's one of the few times where I had a, not just a little blister, because blisters happen, especially when you use muscle-powered tools. But I had actually, put a serious hole in the palm of one of my hands just from screwing in and out to make all the pilot holes. Worth it. So worth it. Purple Pain turned out beautiful. I don't know what I'll do with it. But this would be a really cool piece. You could use it for home defense, but everyone would swing this around indoors. I feel like this would be an awesome, fantasy club to hang above, your mantle or whatever. Or, of course, a really cool cosplay prop. Because a lot of stuff that I make, it is just perfectly suited as a cosplay prop. For photos or whatever. Some of them, they might let you walk around at a run fair with because of spikes. But for taking photos, or if you're doing a cosplay party with your friends or something, or whatever. LARPing, they probably wouldn't let you carry these for LARP. They might let you carry some of the wands I make, but Either which way, I think it's just a beautiful piece, and I'm really proud of it, and I love making spike clubs. I might have a problem, guys. But these are a bunch of spiked clubs slash fighting sticks, whatever you want to call them, cudgels, early maces, whatever, that I've made, and I hope you enjoyed and have a safe and wonderful day. Bye.